Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Queue, and in this third look at the Vultee XP-54, the new reward aircraft in World of Warplanes, we try to assess whether it will be strong in standard battles. What else do we need to know about the Vultee XP-54? Or, the other question you may be asking yourself is, how many more videos can the Noble Queue extract from this aircraft? Well, this will probably be the last one for the time being. But yesterday, in my preceding video, I showed you my very first battle in the Vultee XP-54, but that was in the bomber escort mode. Now, I went on to fly some more bomber escort mode games, and I can report that the aircraft continued to perform magnificently. In fact, I rarely scored less than 35,000 points. I think my top score was a smidgen under 40,000 points. But that leaves open the question of, is it any good in the standard conquest mode? That is, the standard battles that we all fight, or what you may call random battles. So, a quick reminder of how I've set my Vultee XP-54 up. It's already specialised. I have a good pilot in it, and particularly notice the Marksman 1 and Marksman 2 skills. All the equipment is at ultimate level, and I have calibrated it a little since yesterday, which means that the airspeed and manoeuvrability figures are slightly increased. When you first get the aircraft, probably you won't be able to specialise it. You won't be able to put on ultimate equipment, and you may not have quite as good a pilot. However, on the evidence of what I saw yesterday, even in its stock configuration, this plane was still very strong in the bomber escort mode. So, without further ado, let's have a quick look and see how it is in the battle. Here we are on the Albion map, and it's the trump card variant, and although the familiar 5 spots of a die shape is evident, this is quite an unusual map because the strategic sectors are laid out asymmetrically. We have a central forward airstrip which isn't a repair base, which makes it less important than it might otherwise be, but on the right you can see 2 command centres, and on the left you can see 2 mining plants. And if we take a look at those just to remind ourselves what they do, every sector, as you know, conveys 3 resources every 5 seconds. The mining plant produces an extra 80 resources every 2 minutes. The command centres release bomber flights which will attack enemy ground targets. Before this map was tweaked, it used to be the case that possession of both command centres would guarantee you victory because the bomber flights came so frequently they would flip at least one, if not both, of the mining plants in your favour. That's no longer true, and generally you will need to hold on to the command centres if you can, but you will need at least one of the mining plants through your own efforts. Strategically, the forward airstrip is not that important, but tactically in the centre of the map it provides access to all the other sectors. If we look at the order of battle, we can see that I'm top tier in my XP-54, and I have 3 players in tier 5 aircraft, a Bf-109E, a specialised Beaufighter 5, which is also a premium plane, and an F-4F. On the enemy team, there's a specialised bomber, which means that the plants will be under threat. There's a Yak-7 long-range sniper, and a pair of specialised XFL-1s, and those are both premium aircraft as well, and they have nasty 37mm hub-mounted cannons. It looks like an interesting matchup. On this map you need to be tactically fluid, so my plan here is to take the local command centre, head towards the enemy command centre and see if I can take that as well, and then judge whether I should stay and defend, take the airfield, or perhaps get across to one of the plants if both are controlled by the enemy team. So let's see how it goes. I gain altitude, bearing in mind that there are only light aircraft as defence fighters at command centres. I want to be able to dive on these, take them out or at least heavily damage them, swoop through and then come back and repeat that kind of attack if that proves to be what I need to do. And here we go, we select the first target, weaving to avoid the flak, and here's the first one coming into range, and bang bang bang, that's gone, and I dive through. Now in fact I actually turn a little bit too early here. I should have continued going for another 4 or 5 seconds, and one of the aircraft is too close. Fortunately, the manoeuvrability allows me to get my guns to bear on it, and it melts away as well. I chase down the third one, and with those 3 kills, plus probably an air ground target taken out by one of my teammates, we've already got the command centre. So now I go after the heavies, try and decide which one to go for. I like altitude, so I'll go for the one above. The XP-50 could possibly outrun me, but one of my shots takes out its engine, and that's the end of the aircraft. The other heavy has made a run for the command centre, and that's where I'm going to. Keeping high, but always looking for targets, weaving to avoid the flak, and I see one of the XFL ones, as it turns out to be, below me. He hasn't seen me, and he was already on half health, but it only took a pair of 37mm shells to take him out. Very quick indeed. The air defence aircraft is in front of me. I take that out. I probably shouldn't have turned here. I should have gone for what was in front of me, but I got away with it. I select the air defence aircraft as my next target because I know I can come back for the ground attacker. He's not going to get away from me. The air defence aircraft goes down and I swing back for that ground attacker. Full health. And the guns were nowhere near overheating and that ground attacker is already gone. Now admittedly it's a tier 5, but even so I had no problem disposing of it. The tornado presents himself in front of me, probably only land one shell there. I keep an eye on the distance. The tornado has flown away, so I feel free to turn around and re-engage. And down he goes. And that gets us to the command centre. However, the enemy has both plants. I can't leave here yet, because there's a serious attack on the command centre. We take out the Yak-7 first. Nice to have that removed, otherwise there's a possibility of being sniped. I'm keeping an eye on our bomber flights, whilst deciding which target to select here. I dispose of an full health XFL-1 very quickly. An F4F bot presents himself in front of me, and then I lose my engine. I put that back in straight away, and then I start to turn fight with what is, I presume, another XFL-1, and then correctly decide to run away. He gets my tail. That 37mm cannon can do an awful lot of damage, but he can't keep up with me and I'm soon away. I see a target of opportunity in front of me, the SE-100, so I decide to head for that. He's on half health, and now he's on no health. Very quickly disposed of, and now I swing up to the PE-2, and this is the bot bomber. In fact, I don't think I ever saw the human bomber at all. That's partly because I didn't go to the plants, and I presume he stayed in their vicinity. I'm still keeping an eye on our bomber flights, and what I'm hoping is that I won't have to go over there, especially as I've now lost my engine. The bomber flights will flip at least one of those mining plants. I find an XFL down below me, similar sort of position as to when I went into the command centre a little bit earlier, and similar sort of health. He's not paying attention. And it's a similar kind of result, disposed of very quickly. Now I can see a number of aircraft at the command centre, and even if you have a very powerful aircraft, and I think this is a powerful aircraft, as you're probably appreciating already, you can't fly into a gaggle of red aircraft in a heavy and expect to come out the other end. So I decide to concentrate on defending the airfield. We have lost the command centre, which wasn't surprising. However, I'm confident that the bomber flights are going to take one of the plants, which they do. I take out the F4F and I begin to assess tactically what I need to do. The Maguire medal goes through, 400 capture points in a single sortie in a heavy fighter. And talking of heavy fighters, I can see the marker for one. I can't see him through the fog. I don't know my orientation. It turns out he's right in front of me. And the full health SE-100 goes down in 3 volleys. Consider going after the bomber. The bomber decides to come towards me and makes up my mind. Down he goes. Swing around to look at what's down on my left. An XFL-1 comes straight at me and doesn't like it very much. The winged legend notification goes through. I'll swing back in a moment, and then I'm going to talk about boost. And now we've taken both plants, which is actually a bit of a surprise to me, but it means now that we're in a commanding position. The XFL-1 comes at me on the principle that 2 37mm cannons are better than one. I'm able to dispose of him. I have a volley at the tornado, and then I go after the heavy. One thing I have noticed, I did mention in my previous videos that we have 25 seconds of boost on this aircraft, and that's no worse than many of the heavies at tier 6. However, I did find in this battle I was often short of boost, and this is going to need careful management, and it may be a slight drawback of the aircraft. Another 5 seconds would make quite a significant difference, and quite a few of the tier 6 heavies have got 30 seconds of boost. I dive on the SE-100, put him on fire. I can easily outturn this aircraft. He doesn't get his rear guns to bear on me, which is good news. I'll finish him off. Swinging round, looking for the next target. It's an XFL-1, and I think possibly he's giving up at this stage. No, I'm wrong. The ace notification goes through. He did start to manoeuvre. He was obviously paying attention to what was in front of him and not what was behind him, and that's deadly with the Vultee XP-54. If you're in a tier 5, you're going to lose your aircraft in a matter of seconds. I swing towards the command centre. The battle is well won by now. We've had possession of enough of the important sectors for long enough. I take out one of the air defence aircraft. I decide to climb, and then I decide to use a diving attack. We have lost the airfield, but it's inconsequential by now. Find an air defence aircraft below me, and just as I'm about to destroy that, we win. So, bearing in mind, this was my very first standard battle. That's a good crop of medals, and very nearly 20,000 personal points. Not too bad. So let's review the results of this battle. As we can see from the centre, it was a 4-chevron battle, or a grade 2 heavy fighter. Gross 190,386 credits, and if you don't have a premium account, that would have been approximately 127,000 credits. If we drop into the message panel, we can see there are no expenses, the aircraft wasn't shot down, and I used prepaid consumables. 9,372 combat experience, that's with bonuses. That's the premium account bonus and also the first win of the day, which happened to be a ×3 on this occasion. 468 free experience with the premium account bonus, and 5 tokens. These were all for first medals of the day: the McCampbell, the Maguire, the Marseille, Winged Legend, and an ace. If we drop into the personal score tab, we can see that because this particular class-specific mission wasn't completed, it could only be a 4-chevron battle. The other 2 were complete. Personal points of 19,435, 2 sectors captured, 21 aerial targets destroyed, 1 more than is needed for the ace. Damage to aerial targets of 5,474, 22 critical hits. Capture points 500, split as follows: 80 for defending and 420 for attacking. We drop into team score. Not surprisingly, that was enough for first place. And the Bowfighter, also a premium heavy, made a decent contribution, and I think the reason why the enemy captured both plants at the start of the game was because the PE2 M82 player put himself about to good effect. So, that was my very first standard battle in the Vultee XP-54, and as you've seen, I effortlessly amassed nearly 20,000 personal points. I think in the hands of an elite player, you could see this aircraft doing far better than that. What it's got going for it are excellent guns. I wondered if they would overheat quickly and cool down slowly. They don't. They're fantastic. For a heavy, the plane has excellent manoeuvrability, and although you want to be a bit cautious about engaging the manoeuvrable Japanese heavies, especially if they're specialised, you've got your speed to be able to get away from those, and you've got excellent altitude performance. Drawbacks include bad resistance to fire. The plane overall is a little fragile, and as we've seen in this battle, the boost needs careful management. At 25 seconds, it's just on the short side. However, my conclusion is that this plane, it was great in the bomber escort mode, and I think it's likely to be great in standard battles. So at this point, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Is this aircraft overpowered? Well, first we'll have to discuss what overpowered might mean. And we'll do that by talking about elite players first. Elite players will tend to dominate battles, whatever plane they're flying, because their strategic and tactical awareness is excellent. They understand well what they should and shouldn't do in each and every plane, and they can assess accurately what needs to be done, at every point in a battle faster than the rest of us, and I include myself in the rest of us. I think an overpowered aircraft is one that allows good or even average players to dominate battles consistently like an elite player, when in other planes they would not. So do I think the Vultee XP-54 might be one of these planes in which a good or average player can dominate? Well, on the evidence of what I've seen so far and what I've been able to do with it so far, I think it may be. If that's right, that's bad news. It's one thing for tiers 9 and 10 to be spoiled by the overpowered German bomber, the EF-131, because relatively few people play at those tiers. It will be quite another thing if tiers 5, 6 and 7 are spoiled by the Vultee XP-54, because that will annoy a lot more players. We'll have to wait and see what transpires. I hope you've enjoyed this video and my final look at the Vultee XP-54, and if you have, I hope you'll come back and see more of my future content. But for now, this is the Noble Q, also known as Royal Flying Corps, signing out.